movement with an objective of launching an armed struggle against the oppressive state apparatus. But at that particular conjuncture, it was a small guerrilla organization. But it had a long history of evolution.
Tamil areas of Colombo were set ablaze.
There was some sort of organized groups going around. They were coming out and going to the addresses, knocking on the doors and pulling out the Tamils and killing them. And I saw it and happening. It went on for a few days.
There had been plenty of riots before, but this was different, a state-sponsored pogrom.
I could see police jeeps going by, nobody did anything. Occasionally you could see army truck, nothing was happening.
Their properties burned, not just in Colombo but in the hill country too. Tamils fled, fearing for their lives. The civil war had begun.
Disturbing images of civilians caught in the crossfire are trickling out of Sri Lanka. The images sent by an organization linked to the Tamil Tiger rebels, denounced by the government as enemy propaganda. But the government won't allow independent media into the war zone, leaving many news organizations to rely on video put out by both sides of the conflict. International journalist organizations are becoming increasingly critical of the treatment of journalists in Sri Lanka. The latest warning to foreign journalists and diplomats was published in a Sri Lankan newspaper. Sri Lanka's defense secretary saying, quote, "They will be chased away if they try to give a second wind to the separatist Tamil Tigers." Last month, this independent television station was attacked after the government-run media criticized the station's coverage of the war. The station manager of Sarasa TV talked to CNN then.
We're just hoping that police could get to the bottom of this and bring to book whoever the perpetrators are.
After the interview aired, the defense secretary responded, calling Chivan Daniel a terrorist.
I saw the news on CNN. A person in the Sarasa station was talking. The gist of it was that a Claymore mine was used and that the government was responsible for the attack. The person who spoke, I know, he's a terrorist.
The government condemned the attack and said it was investigating whether it was carried out to discredit the authorities. Another attack killed a prominent journalist. Sunday leader, editor-in-chief Lasantha Wickrematunge was shot in rush-hour traffic. He said he'd been threatened many times before. His newspaper had long been a thorn in the government's side. After his death, an editorial he had written was published predicting his own demise. It reads in part, "People often ask me why I take such risks and tell me it's a matter of time before I am bumped off. In all these cases, I have reason to believe the attacks were inspired by the government. When finally I am killed, it will be the government that kills me." The attacks, many journalists say, is one reason why the story of this war is yet to be fully told.
The fifth stage of genocide is polarization, in which the hate groups try to drive the society apart, in which they try to drive out all the moderates who could stop the process. So the first groups that are always attacked in every genocide are people from the group of the people who is committing the genocide, but who are moderates who might oppose it.
Journalists can't speak, they can't write, the parliamentarians can't open their mouth, anybody can arrest at any time, the business people can't live, they can be abducted, millions can be taken. By whom? By the armed forces. By the paramilitary groups working with the armed forces.
The much-acclaimed extremist organization known as JVP, who believed in Sinhalese only nation, now holds strong political status. It is well known that Sinhalese and Tamil civilians have lived side by side for years, peacefully. However, these extremists eliminated anyone who opposed their ideas, including Sinhalese people who supported a peaceful coexistence.
It was the president who, back then, arranged for me to meet gunmen from the JVP. He shared with them the fears that fuel Sinhalese chauvinism. Indians are going to occupy this land. They are going to take over this land. And already they have 100,000 soldiers in this country. And our fear is that they might come to down south. And they might occupy this area. What will happen to us? And we will be another part of India. Mahinda said these were patriotic boys who defended the Sinhalese people when the government was selling out to India. They certainly weren't terrorists.
That time they never called them terrorists. They always used the word of insurgents.
So the language has changed.
Language has changed.
But you did understand the reasons why they took up a gun.
I was not sympathizing that cause. I was sympathizing with them the way that the government handled. I believe in it, even today, that I can't be a terrorist. The government cannot be a terrorist. We can't act like terrorists.
Tamil families are forced to leave their houses and businesses and move into refugee camps. They are deprived of medicine and food supplies. They are set aside and identified as being different due to their ethnicity.
Security concerns mean these Tamil refugees aren't allowed to leave the camp or even receive visitors. Brigadier Nanayakara told us it was for their own good.
Isn't the point, sir, that they're not being given a choice? No one's asking them where they want to go, whether they're free to leave or not. You're making that decision for them, yeah?
No, we are not making any decision for them.
But so they can leave if they choose to leave?
They just can't go and leave like that.
This camp is quickly growing into a large semi-permanent settlement. It's expected to house around 120,000 people for up